So in December of 2021, I had a routine mammogram, and I was told that they found some unusual cell tissue. Found out on December 27th, a couple of days after Christmas, that they did find cancer. And so I went in early January, mid-January, to have a meeting with the surgeon. He told me that yes, it is a best case scenario in the fact that we caught it early. He also said, but, that's going to be the key word in my story, but it's also a very aggressive cancer. They removed what they thought was the cancer with clear margins, and I went back to the surgeon for my follow-up a week later. And he said, you know, everything went well with your surgery, you're healing great, your incision is healing, but we found more cancer. Went back for the post-op after that surgery, and he told me that not only did they get that cancer, but after they removed all of the breast tissue, they found even more cancer that had not yet been detected. And I will never forget that day when Dr. Rigoni looked at me and said, this surgery potentially saved your life. And so at that point I felt like, okay, life can start fresh again. We're gonna have some easier days ahead. And then we got to June of 2022, and my daughter got very sick. 2 weeks of back and forth to urgent care, not getting any answers, but running these incredibly high fevers and just so sick. I finally took her to the emergency room, and the charge nurse said, we have your daughter on sepsis protocol. And my daughter looked straight at me, Sarah Reed. She looked at me and she said, that means I'm gonna die. And I said, no ma'am. We're surrounded by doctors and nurses who are gonna take care of you. And so at that point, I apologize, at that point, they were clearing the OR to get her in for emergency surgery. The infection had spread into her hip and her leg. And it was dangerously close to many of her major organs. That was the first 24 hours where these IV antibiotics going into her and trying to get her out of the immediate danger with this infection. My husband Eric convinced me to go home and get some rest. Barely got out of the hospital parking lot and started sobbing and begging God. It became screaming. I was screaming at the top of my lungs to just please heal Sarah Reed. God, take this infection out of Sarah Reed and fill my body with cancer. You can fill every organ, just heal her. And that's all I wanted. I wanted Sarah Reed to be healed. So it was a season of a lot of change, a lot of fears, but God healed her. And God put the right doctors in place and the right medicines in their hands to heal her from this infection. I realized the day that I was screaming at God in my car and begging Him to heal Sarah Reed, I realized that I was trying to negotiate with God. I was trying to say, if you'll do this for me, I'll let you put cancer back in my body. I kept having these moments of thinking things were under control and thinking I knew exactly what was coming next. And every time that I heard the word but, the thing that got me through that is knowing that God knew when He created me, He knew this was coming. But I do believe that He allows these trials and these valleys to bring us closer to Him. And I hope that even one person saw the way that God worked in our lives, and they were then changed and encouraged to rely on God in those deep valleys when they come, because they will come. And I know that they'll come again for us. But I can look back through my journals of the things that were such clear answered prayers and gave me that reminder that God was right there with us through the entire process.